here we are on week 3 of lockdown. Hope you're doing okay, hope you're well, hope your family are well, and you're keeping nice and occupied. I have been busy with these bits this week, so I said I was going to paint up my Heroquest miniatures, and I've pretty much done that, put them in position on the diorama here. Unfortunately, the camera that when I was building this diorama with, I was using a camera in a very particular position with a particular lens on it that gave a very particular view, and the whole diorama was scaled to the size of the miniatures as they appeared. So to replicate the box art here, he did the barbarian sort of right at the front here, and then the elf and the dwarf had to be way back here so that they appeared to come up to just past his knee there under his sword. And I don't have that camera with me here, that's on my desk at work. So I had a go with the camera that I do have here with my standard SLR. And unfortunately it's not going to give the same view, so I can't actually set this up and photograph it to replicate the box art just yet, so that will have to wait until I'm able to get back to my desk and retrieve that camera. But I have finished painting these guys, and I'll run some photos of them past the screen. There was one figure missing when I was doing this, which is this chap. I don't know if you can see. So this chappy here, just by the Chaos Sorcerer, is a I think he's an orc, or possibly he's a goblin. He's smaller than the orcs over here, with one of the kind of Mongolian helmets that they sometimes have, and the guy who was sculpting this set unfortunately didn't get around to doing that one, so I have had a go at converting this existing Heroquest orc, giving him a helmet and new face, angling him. Fortunately, the clothes that he's wearing are pretty similar to the clothes that the guy on the box is wearing, so I thought that's quite nice to have one of the actual Heroquest plastic miniatures on diorama. So he's there at the back. There's also there's a couple of orcs, I think they're orcs again, in the background here, and there's a Fenrir just popping his head out behind this wizard's lightning bolt there, which you can't see very clearly on the box art, but on the artwork from the what is it there? On the artwork from the book, it's a bit clearer to see that he's there. So there are those heads, and again they weren't part of the set. So I have been sculpting some heads there to stick onto the just stick on the archways, and then I'll blend the artworking on them so it goes back into the darkness of the archways. But that's the good news, that I have picked up sculpting tools and been sculpting things. Before we went on lockdown, I just ran out of putty, and I get my modelling putty from Green Stuff World in Spain, and I'd ordered some, but I was a bit concerned with the lockdown that wasn't going to get here, so I ordered another batch, an emergency batch from a UK seller on eBay. So I've got loads of putty in, but was feeling a bit anxious for a couple of weeks of lockdown. Wasn't really able to get into the mood for sculpting. The painting is occupying enough, but to achieve the levels of concentration needed for sculpting, my mind wasn't quite in the right place for that. But fortunately, feeling a lot better, a lot calmer now, so hopefully we'll be able to get on. I've got a few things I want to sculpt over the next couple of weeks. I've got the last few figures for the Dreamstone miniatures to do. They were hopefully going to go on Kickstarter this month, but I think that's going to be pushed back now given the circumstances. So that will be happening later in the year, hopefully before September, which is when the Dreamstone 30th anniversary is. So I will be doing that. I also want to sculpt some replacement Spriggans. I've decided to retire the Spriggans that are in the current Woods range and resculpt those. So I've got those to work on, and I've got a few more commission pieces on the go as well. So that should keep me busy for a little while. Plus there's a few, if I run out of things, there's plenty of things with Woods that I want to sculpt. I want to do some more Huldra, the Ice Barbarians. Yeah, lots of other things to be sculpting, so should have no problem now that my mind is in the right place to be sculpting again. While I was on the subject of Heroquest, I managed to pick up my advanced Heroquest miniatures, and again I'll run photos of these past the screen, and so I tried to give those a paint job to match the ones on the box, the Mike McVie painted ones. Not done a bad job, I don't think, including my metal prototype advanced Heroquest dwarf. I also did the unreleased wood elf. I think he's a warlord that Foundry released a couple of years ago as part of their Time Warped Wizards set, so a formerly unreleased Citadel miniature there. He's pretty close in that he's got a sword and a bow. He's pretty close to the advanced Heroquest plastic, but he's not the prototype miniature. There is a metal prototype advanced Heroquest elf, which is quite different. So sadly he's not, but he will fill in that gap. I also decided to paint up another random elf that I had. I think he's just a wood elf, possibly a high elf, don't know, sea elf. They had lots of different elves back then. Painted him up in the Heroquest elf colour scheme, and then just the plastic wizard there from the set. So I managed to get those done, and of course my challenge mini for the week, which was the White Dwarf there. If you remember, the challenge was the miniature that's been sat in your painting queue for the longest. So this is the figure that's sat on my desk for the longest without being painted, has now got a paint job, and I tried to match his colour scheme in with the one of the original Heroquest dwarf, which was the miniature that was used for the artwork for the cover of the 100th anniversary edition of White Dwarf, the magazine. It's a John Civic cover, so that he to me is the original White Dwarf. I know there was a pre-slaughter one previously, but that 100th anniversary figure is the White Dwarf. This is the 200th anniversary White Dwarf figure, starting to move to a bit more of the sort of high fantasy look of the dwarves that were in later Warhammer editions. But I thought I'd use that paint scheme on him, which brings us neatly to this week's challenge. So the challenge this week is to paint something woodsy. What I mean by that is to paint something which looks like it might fit into the world of the woods. That's the oak-bound Celtic fantasy setting. And if you're not familiar with that setting, but you'd like to be, it's still we've still got the PDF edition on Pay What You Will on Wargame Vault. So we've had quite a lot of people take that up. That's great. It's really good to see people playing around with different rule sets. Have a look on Wargame Vault for the Woods. You'll be able to download the PDF for whatever you want to pay for it. Nothing if you like it. You can get it for free. And pick something from your collection. It does not have to be, and I want to make this very clear, it does not have to be an oak-bound miniature. It might be that you've got some oak-bound miniatures and it's an excuse to paint those up, get a warband going, great, but it doesn't have to be an oak-bound figure. I'm not painting an oak-bound figure. I'm going to be painting up this chap. He is a treeman who is based on a Brian Froud drawing in Fairy's book. And a lot of the Woods sort of style and folklore comes from the work of Brian Froud and Alan Lee, particularly in that book. So that's quite a suitably woodsy figure to me, and he can represent a dinardry in the rules themselves. That's like a treeman figure. So he's what I'm going to be painting up. Thank you, Mike, for giving him to me. I think he will be, if I'm remembering correctly, he will be available again in the near future. I can't remember who the company was that originally had him, but I think he's going to be re-released very, very soon. So I will try and do my best on that miniature. Have a nice week. Stay safe. Stay indoors, but enjoy the sunshine. Take care. I will see you next week.